Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. When I picked out this title, I was driving down the street with a friend of mine named Mitch, and I saw that my friend Mitch was going to make a U-turn, and there was a sign that very clearly said, "No U-turn." And I said, "Mitch, you're making a U-turn. It says no U-turn." So my friend Mitch said to me, "Look at the sign again. It says no U-turn." So I said, okay. So, you're the one that's driving. I said, do what you need to do. So when I came up with this title, I want someone from the audience to say this title of what we're talking about today. Anyway.
Are you out of your mind to be in love?
Are you out of your mind to be in love? Is there another way to say that? Well, a New Yorker might say, "Are you out of your mind?"
No, you missed the big superlative.
Okay. To be in love. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at the same exact sentence. Let me tell you a little about me, and then you'll understand the title. Been on a 38-year self-study on several different philosophies on life. And in the beginning, it was to find out about how to get along with chicks better, how to, get as many dates as I wanted to get. And as time went on, and the more I studied, the more I learned about relationships. And the more I found out that it takes an effort to have a healthy relationship. We're brought up in households. Anybody ever hear of a statistic of functional households that we were brought up in compared to dysfunctional households? Has anybody ever heard a statistic? Anybody?
Not numbers, but...
Okay, the numbers are staggering. The numbers say something like over 90% of households, one way or another, are dysfunctional to terribly dysfunctional. And in our generation of people, there's never been a breakout of alcoholism like we had in the 50s and 60s and 70s, drug addiction, cocaine, crack. Normal, typical, average, everyday person tries crack, boom, addicted for life. So on top of being dysfunctional and not really, the door's locked? Oh, no. In addition to being dysfunctional because you simply are not taught, or your parents really did not understand how to have a happy, healthy relationship, then you introduce drugs and alcohol, gambling, and then all of a sudden with the sexual revolution, you get people who are sexually addicted. I want to talk a little bit about that, where that comes from. So, what's happened to so many people is that if you were lucky enough to fall in love, I want to see a show of hands. Who was lucky enough to fall in love when they were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20? Show of hands. Only half of the room. He doesn't know. He's not sure. He's not sure if he's been in love yet. Okay. If you were lucky enough to have fallen in love when you were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, but were faced with a situation where the person that you were attracted to changed her mind or changed his mind, and there was a breakup, there was nothing more hurtful to your heart than having someone break up with you and they were your first love. Can you relate to that? That's a hard feeling. So what's happened to so many people is that experience was so painful that a lot of people made a conscious choice in their lives to not base their relationships on feelings of the heart. They just couldn't bear risking having their heart broken again. So, because we are a very social generation of people, what were we going to do? Were we not going to date anymore? Were we not going to be out there in the social world? No. Because we're a social group, we had to find a way to cope, to entertain, to be in the social world, to date, to have sex. And what we did was, to protect our hearts, we decided that we were going to make choices not from the heart, but we started thinking about relationships. We started thinking about who could be a good deal for us. Who can we compromise ourselves with? Because a compromise, we weren't coming from our hearts anymore. We were too afraid to date someone who we could fall in love with again. So the biggest problem that our whole generation is facing is that we started making choices with our heads. Now, how did I figure this out? I didn't just decide this. What happened was, from 1993 to 2003, I went on America Online, and I opened up a room called Relationship Coaching. And over a 10-year period of time, I had over 6,000 detailed, intimate relationship discussions, documented discussions, with probably 3,000 or 4,000 people. Many of them kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And what happened was, I was in that room to teach them what I had learned, but really what was happening was, I was listening to their stories. I was listening to their pain, and I was listening to their breakups, and I was listening to their frustration in trying to find someone else that they could be in relationship with. This is what I found out from them. That as an entire generation of people, we started making choices, thinking with our heads, rather than making a choice with our heart. So, the way I came up with this name for our discussion is, are you out of your mind? Because the only way you're going to be in love is if you get out of your mind and get back into your hearts. The only way you can feel, you can't think love. If you could, we'd have millions and billions of people happy in relationships. But thinking about relationships and feeling about relationships is like oil and water. And that's why an entire generation of people, an entire country, an entire world is in so much upset now. Because they're approaching their lives simply with their minds and what they think rather than with their hearts. So with that said, I was hoping that you might have read, because there's a lot of subjects that we can talk about, but you said that you had one that you definitely wanted to talk about. Would you mind kind of standing up and just reading the one that you wanted to talk about so everybody can hear you?
Can I do it sitting?
Sure, go ahead.
Leaders look for what's wrong with people. My statement is, I haven't had many online dating experiences because I've only been single a very short time. The first few were not good, so I really haven't continued with this online dating.
Okay.
But I know too many people who have done a lot of online dating, and within the first 3 dates been hurt so bad